We Grown Now is one of the nominees this year at the Independent Spirit Awards for Best Feature. So let's talk about it. It's a little film that IMDb just seems to have almost really no information on. It's actually kind of amazing. I'm like, how did this get to a Best Picture nomination without a single like it has no Metacritic? I'm like, what is happening here? Even for the critics who didn't see it when it was in release, aren't they at least a little like their attention peaked by the Best Picture nomination? Like, aren't they like, yeah, we should probably check that one out? Go just for the hell of it, I guess. I mean, it's up against like heavy hitters, and then you have We Grown Now, and they're not like, how did that get there? Along with those, All of Us Strangers, American Fiction, May, December, Past Lives, We Grown Now. I love the critics who just, I can't be one of them. They won't let me on Metacritic, but yet they also won't review films like this. It's just hilariously bizarre. Um, Supposedly, this film got a theatrical release in October, but it has no box office information on IMDb. So take that what you will. Although I kind of just I want to know like how to film like this that has such little interaction with humans apparently. Even when you go to IMDb, I was going through IMDb and there wasn't like it has a score, but it didn't even have a user review that it suggested for me to read, which is weird. Like usually there's at least one person who has like an extreme opinion and it needs to be known one way or the other. So it didn't even have that. It just has a 7.4 on IMDb, which it's a good score for a film that has nothing on IMDb. I mean, IMDb barely thinks this film exists. So, um, I wish more people knew about this. I don't even know if it has a distributor. Like, I really know nothing about this film. It's not rated in some places, but then in other places it says it's PG. So I've seen it listed as both. I've seen it listed as unrated, like it hadn't been submitted, but then it also is listed as PG. So take that for what you will. It's either been rated or it hasn't been. People don't seem to know much about this film, and yet it leapfrogged over like a thousand other independent films that the Spirit Awards could have nominated that also would have hit their quota of trying to lift up emerging filmmakers. It's not like we were short on films this year with emerging filmmakers. I mean, they nominated a lot of those in like first time feature, everything from All Dirt Road's Taste of Salt, Earth Mama, 1001. There's a whole bunch of films that I've seen this year that easily were tracking and could have easily, surprised in the Best Picture race. But that doesn't mean that this film is bad. Absolutely not. This reminded me of so many other little independent films that we've had over the years where the kids have taken control of the lead and of the story, and the adults have just been there to watch. I was reminded of The Boys of Summer, which was a delightful film back in the day that starred uh, a young actor before they went on to star in I don't know everything else that they did. Love, Simon, Jurassic World. They did Boys of Summer, and it even had a director who went on to do great things. So, but it felt like this small film at the time, and it was about kids building a fort in the woods, and it was great. I loved it because it fully encapsulated to me what I remembered from my childhood of like what it meant to be a kid. Even though it wasn't my experience, I've never built a fort in the middle of the woods before, but I've gone exploring and hung out with kids as friends and stuff, and it had that to it, it had that element. So I think we've all wanted to build a fort in the woods. Let's just be honest. I mean, living vicariously through those kids. But here, This isn't my experience because I didn't grow up in public housing in Chicago in 1992. So this is someone else's experience. But I didn't find any less enthralling uh, to follow these kids on their journey and uh, to be opened up to their world. Because I'm sure to some people, this hits home. This feels like their childhood. You know, they walk home and they're trying to avoid random acts of violence on the way home, but they also just want to be kids. They just kind of want to do normal things, and they're bored with school too. They're not bad students, but there are things at school that are boring and suck, and they want to get away from them sometimes. And they have overbearing parents, and they don't really fully understand why they have overbearing parents, and they think nothing. You know, when you're a kid, you think nothing bad is ever going to happen to me. They haven't read Bridge to Terabithia. Apparently, we need to put that on more book lists again, just just to scare kids. Um, but this has a couple of recognizable adult actors in it, like Journey Smollett, Lil Rel Howery, who I guess was achieving some sort of I don't know, Guinness World Record that he was trying to get to by appearing in the most films in a calendar year. I feel like I saw so many films with Lil Rel in it. Just I don't even conceptually understand. But and Esapitha Murkison is also in this. So yeah, there's it's not like this director couldn't find people you know either. So it is very much like The Boys of Summer in because that had like Nick Offerman and there was like somebody else. There were like two recognizable adults that just kind of like popped up like in the film, and they weren't really, they were just kind of like in the background. They were there to like sort of uh scold the kids or whatever. I don't know, but it wasn't about them. But it's nice for the audience, I guess, to see. And you know, playing a concerned mother always works well. You know, when you're having to yell at your kid and stuff, if you have the dramatic range and depth to be able to do it. Two schools of thoughts on that too. This felt like a movie. Where I was watching a movie, I wasn't taken out of it. There was a film that I also already mentioned, Earth Mama, that was shot so much. Its lead Tiana Moore seemed to be just plucked out of literal obscurity, like almost if her story included, I was in Walmart and a dude came up to me and was like, "Would you like to be in a movie?" And I thought he was weird, and I punched him in the face, and he was like, "No, seriously, do you want me to be in a movie?" I would believe that was her story. I'd just totally be like, I'd be like, that's how she got cast in Earth Mama. She feels like so like it could be her story. Like you're intruding in on her life somehow. Like documentarians have started filming her. It kind of ruins the experience when you have a couple of well-known faces like Eric Alexander just show up and be like, "Hi, I'm in the film." And you're like, "Oh well, I've seen you in other things, so this is obviously a film now. Thank you." But this always felt like a film, but a good one, and a film where these kids in 1992 in Chicago, of course, who do they idolize? The Bulls. There had lots of conversations about Jordan and Pippen, and I think these kids want to be the next Jordan and Pippen, you know, and that the ability to pair their camaraderie to one of the best known, well-known basketball duos of all time it's just such a smart move to put this film where it is and when it is, um, and to also be able to talk about the innocence of childhood, innocence lost in many ways. There's a friend that they know, things don't go well for them, and we get to hear about that story. Um, and this, I don't know, this is just a lot better film than I thought it was, and I'm glad that this is the kind of film that we're lifting up. I wish it had audio description. I don't know if this has any distribution at all. I don't even know where this came from. So I'm having a really hard time being mad at this film for not having any audio description, because I have no idea. I can't find any information as to who owns this film. And I find conflicting information on things like MPAA ratings and the fact that there is a lack of critics and no box office. I have no idea. Maybe this film has a distributor. Maybe this film just sent a screener to everybody ahead of the Independent Spirit Awards. I have no idea. I don't know how it got here, but I appreciate the fact that it is here because I think that the story is worth telling. Do I think it's necessarily any weightier or any more important than some of the other stories we've told this year that represent the same sort of stories, ideas, and culture? Not necessarily, but I think it's been a strong year for films with predominantly black casts telling stories about um, their various lives and struggles and stuff like that. I think Thelonious and American Fiction would have a lot to say about some of those films, but I think they're all. I think the best ones stood out. You know, the best ones are relatable across the board, and for me, I didn't need to be a black kid in Chicago in 1992 in order to love this film. I just needed to enjoy what the filmmaker was doing. He has a lot of shots where there are no dialogue, so I gotta say, I gotta be the Debbie Downer on this and say, as a blind film critic, uh, and then why I put the emphasis on film as a blind film critic, I I want to love this movie. I want to grade it. I want to be able to celebrate it. But unfortunately, I would say to a blind audience that it's there are times where you're not going to know what's going on because of the way the film is. It's not a snappy dialogue film. It takes its time. It's nuanced, and even though the story was in the right place, because of that, sometimes um, when you're asking me to just sort of listen to sound effects or the score or whatever, and I have no idea what's going on or what the context is or what I'm supposed to be looking at, it can make a film feel long that isn't long. This film isn't even like an hour and 20 minutes, and it felt longer, which is due in large part to having lots of scenes that I can't follow. So that would be the lesson in making sure this film has audio description when it does get distribution. I'm assuming at some point this will probably end up on a streaming service or on VOD, at least because it's, again, that October release date. I don't see this. It's not like it's something that's seeking distribution. It would have had to debut somewhere for the Spirit Awards to nominate it as part of their body of work for 2023, I would assume. So, I don't, it's not like this is a film market and we're trying to get this film picked up. I'm really sad this film got sort of shoved out of the way and that it just didn't get the kind of light shown on it theatrically that it really deserved. I hope it at least got a release in Chicago. Like, what a crime if not. I mean, to the people who likely have lived and grown up in Chicago that could absolutely relate to this. I mean, the more closely that you get to somebody's childhood, the better. But I think those people would have really loved this film. I think there are a lot of probably emerging filmmakers in Chicago that would have really loved to watch this. So I hope they got the chance to see their childhoods on screen. Yeah, that's right. Childhood's on screen. Uh, yeah. Sadly, what I do on this channel largely has to do with advocating for audio description. Um, a lot of times, a couple of times I've tapped out because I think the film is worthy and important enough. I don't know that this film is important. I just think that the film is likely good. So I'm not gonna back out because I think the material necessarily I don't want to say unwatchable like I did with Bobby Wine, for example. I watched that film without audio description. Bobby Wine, the People's President, as a documentary, doesn't have audio description, and it's really hard for me to come down on a documentary where people are getting shot for trying to vote. So I didn't grade. So occasionally I feel really uncomfortable saying the word unwatchable, which I say to every other film, whether I like it or not. Doesn't mean I don't like this. I feel for this film and I want it to succeed, but coming from an accessibility angle, I also want it to have audio description. I want it to have audio description wherever it goes. I don't want it to just have audio description sent to me in a screener. I want it to make sure it has it when it's available for VOD rent. I want to make sure it has audio description when it moves to a streaming service. So just stay aware, stay vigilant, and make your film accessible, because there are a lot of people who are blind and share the same experience. Not everybody is, you know, we're not one monolith. And I like to believe that there are people out there who share what I have and will get a lot out of this film. And I want them to be able to get a lot out of this as well. Unfortunately, We Grow Now is unwatchable without audio description. But I have my fingers crossed that this does and will get, hopefully, better noticed. It's up against some tough films. Damn. It's really, I think it's up against Passages, so at least there's one film that I liked it better than. I think that was the other nominee. I didn't want to say it for sure, but I think Passages is the 6th Best Picture nominee. I would put it above Passages, which I also did not have audio description in watching. But comparing the two films, I definitely enjoyed this experience over Passages. But the other films, yeah, I have to be able to compare it. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I want to continue to talk about audio description. So I need more people. MacTheMovieGuy.com is my website. You can go to X, Threads, or Instagram and follow me at MacTheMovieGuy. You can go to the Audio Description Project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what has audio description and where you can watch it. And you can go to the ADNA.org. That's the ADNA.org. It'll let you know who's narrating your favorite film and television series. That's it for me today. I will watch something else and see you guys on the other side.